Hello and welcome to another week of the Championship Wrap. I'm Eloise Sawyer, joined as always with Andrew Henderson. Hendo, a massive weekend of rugby league and of course a great win for Warrington Wolves.
Yes, it was. Look, we were made to work for it in that first half. We had a really good start to the game, 12-0 up, and then unfortunately, we allowed Huddersfield back into the game just before half time. You know, they gained some real momentum in that last sort of 15 minutes before half time. But great response from our players in the second half. Really came together and come to the fore and executed well. 38 unanswered points second half to end up winning the game 50 points to 19. That was a fantastic performance from us. So hopefully we can carry that form into Friday this week when we face a really tough Castleford side at their place. So good performance all round for our boys and another result, which is fantastic.
Well, that's a similar storyline to the first game in the Championship, which was of course Widnes versus Dewsbury, and Dewsbury ended up walking away with this one just by 1 point, 25-24. But Widnes did hold the lead, as you said, for the Warrington Wolves going into half time. They were ahead 18-14. This certainly was a thriller.
Well, awesome for Dewsbury. I mean, how good's this? I mean, what a great result, because they've been struggling for a result, haven't they, in recent weeks? You know, their performance levels haven't been at the best, you know, or consistent enough, I should say, over the course of 80 minutes, and they've been struggling to find a win. So, really pleased for Lee Greenwood and his men there. You know, that was a tough test for them to go to Widnes. You know, Widnes coming off the back of a loss away at York on Easter Monday, you know, licking their wounds. We both felt that Widnes would have had a response at home, but by all means, they weren't very good on the day, Widnes, and Dewsbury thoroughly deserved their victory.
Well, let's take a look at all the highlights and how it all unfolded.
Dewsbury deep in Widnes territory now. Sam Day, dummy half, out the back to Brown. Brown to Finn. There's space and opportunity. Hurley's through. Oh, that's a great opening try there for the Dewsbury Rams. Widnes on the attack. It's last tackle. Owens to the line. He kicks it. Oh, it's ricocheted off Igbinan. And Daniel Igbinan has gone through now. Great right arm fed. Has he got the pace? I think he has. Oh, that's a great individual try for the Dewsbury Rams. Great work there from Iggy. Widnes on the attack, scrum attack. Craven out the back to Owens. Owens shows and goes. Oh, and that's poor defence from the Dewsbury Rams leaving the scene. They just opened up there for Owens. Last play now. Ball's found the arms of Garrett, and Garrett's gone through. He didn't expect the pass being the last play. Thought he was going through as a decoy. He gets the offload away now to Finn. Finn's got support from Gabriel, and this will be a great team try from the Dewsbury Rams. Unbelievable. Widnes now. Deep inside the Dewsbury half. Ball now goes to Johnson. It goes out the back to Craven, out the back to Owens. Owens dummies, and again, he's beaten the inside shoulder of Igbinan to score his second. Widnes. Last play, Craven. Hoists it high. Luke Hurley's underneath it here. Should take this one relative ease. Not under pressure. Oh, he's fumbled it, and Jack Owens gets his hat-trick. That's a hat-trick for Owens. Michael Knowles. Wide ball now to Simon Brown. Comes back off the right, back to Knowles. They've got an opportunity here, and it's a great pass from Knowles and a great finish from Andy Gabriel. Widnes, wide ball now to Craven. He dummies the drop-off plays. He shows he goes. He beats a couple of would-be tacklers, shrugs up another, and that's a brilliant solo try from Danny Craven. The Dewsbury Rams now. Last tackle. Fighting to get up and play the ball was Ryder. Hurley to Brown. Brown with a little grubber kick in. They've got this covered, the Vikings, have they? No, they don't! Oh, Liam Finn pounces. The Vikings now looking to set up. You can see Finn, he's lurking for the drop goal opportunity. Pass back from Day, steps off the right, left foot strike, and he's got it! 25-24.
Up next, of course, we had Sheffield Eagles, who hosted Halifax, and they ended up losing this one 32-24 in Halifax's favour. And Sheffield were previously unbeaten at home this season, so this is a big wake-up call for them.
Yeah, disappointing loss for Sheffield, and it's a strange one because going into the game, unfortunately, there was some whispers coming out of the camp.
The coaching around Halifax.
Absolutely, that Richard Marshall, it's now been confirmed, so we can speak about it. Richard Marshall has now left the Halifax club as head coach. But leading into the game, there was some, it hadn't been made fully public, but there was some talk about Richard not going to be in attendance at the game, that things had gone a little bit sour there. So
perhaps a distraction going into this one.
Absolutely. So there was a thought that maybe Halifax may have been a little bit disarray going into the game, and Simon Griggs, one of their players, had to sort of take control of proceedings for the match. And wow, haven't they galvanised as a squad there and really come back with a real impressive performance against a very good and informed Sheffield side. But that's a real morale-boosting, confidence-boosting performance for Halifax. Much needed, I should say, as well. well.
They've been a little bit inconsistent.
They have, and that's probably in some respects probably resulted in the departure of Richard, which is unfortunate because he's done a great job there over his tenure. You know, he's put some really good foundations in place at the club, both on and off the field, done some really great work. So, I know he'll be disappointed to be leaving the club, and I know that's probably had some mixed reaction from the fans, but he has done a good job there. But life goes on, and that's the nature of sport. You know, you've just got to pick yourselves up and go. And well done to Halifax. They had a great result there against a very good Sheffield side. Up next, the
Barrow Raiders hosted the Featherston Rovers, and they were unfortunate at this one at home. Featherston 26, Barrow 12. A little bit of the same storyline for Barrow at the moment this season. They seem to be just coming away with those losses, but no doubt the effort's certainly there. But Featherston, they certainly look like they're on a roll, and the injection of Dane Chisholm and his arrival to the club's certainly been something that's been positive for them.
Well, certainly since Dane's come to the club, he's certainly lifted them in terms of their attacking capability, hasn't he? He's made a big impact from an attacking point of view. Again, I think scored another try and was very instrumental and the heartbeat of a lot of the good attacking raids that Featherston were demonstrating on the weekend. Again, for them, really good start. They were 22-0 up there at one point in the game. If I can give some sort of credit to Barrow,
they managed to get their way back in.
They did. They didn't give in. You know, in previous weeks, they may have not had the same sort of mentality to stay in the fight. So, you know, Coach Paul Crary could really draw from that second half performance of Barrow. But again, another disappointing outcome for the Barrow side, and they're struggling at the moment to get results.
Toulouse Olympique 30, York 26. Now, York can take some positivity away from this, the fact that they were leading at half-time, especially travelling to Toulouse down there in France. It is a difficult one, but unfortunately, they did come 4 points short in the end.
Yeah, really unfortunate because it's a tough ask. They were missing, three of their key players, or senior players, I should say, in Graham Horn, Ben Cockayne and Tim Spears, all through injury were missing. So that's a big blow to their side. So to go there with that lack of experience into the cauldron of intensity that is Toulouse, it's a different environment, different conditions.
And a different ballgame that they play. They
absolutely,
really
they're red hot at home, aren't they? And like you said, I mean, the way York conducted themselves was outstanding. 16-12 up at half-time. They probably thought, wow, we're in the game here. But then Toulouse hit out the second half, started really well. 2 quick-fire tries. And then it may have been the fans, and that might have been thinking, oh, here we go, because we've seen Toulouse do that to teams, haven't we? Come out in the second half.
Toronto back
absolutely, put 30, 40 points on teams in a half. So there was probably that fear that could happen. But credit to York, they stayed in it. But again, quality from Toulouse to get another result, and they just keep winning at the moment.
They certainly are lingering right just behind Toronto Wolfpack. I think it's 4 points clear. Toronto at the top, but Toulouse is certainly going to be there at the end of this season. Up next, Batley 16, Lee 36. Lee, this was the return of Ryan Briley. He was absolutely outstanding back on his second debut for the club, and it was a confidence boost for Lee. It probably needed a win to stay up amongst that, within the top type of that table.
Yeah, absolutely. Louise, it was important that they went there to get a victory, and Batley will be a little bit disappointed too, because they've come off back-to-back wins. There was, we spoke about it last week. That could this be now the catalyst for them starting to turn their season around? Unfortunately, they haven't been able to bounce back after that Easter period with a home win against Lee. But as you rightly said, Ryan Briley, huge impact on the team since he's come in there. Scored a try, converted 6 goals. Had some other good passages of play throughout the game. So well done to him, returning to the Centurions. And a good result for Lee too, because like I said, their form's been a little bit indifferent in recent weeks. Important for them to, like I said, stay in the mixer. They needed to get a result yesterday, and well done to them.
Another big one was the ladder leaders, which is Toronto Wolfpack 52, taking their game for the first time this season to the Lamport Stadium, and they were victorious over Swinton Lions, just 10. Toronto really looked like never losing this one in front of a packed crowd, almost 10,000 people. Yeah. It was 9,562, which is a record this season. Wow. Incredible for Toronto, and they really did look clinical right from the outset. 2 early tries. It was almost they were home within the first half. Yeah,
and like you said, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. It was just a really good team clinical performance from the Toronto Wolfpack. I mean, fantastic to see that. I know there would have been a lot of emphasis going into the game, their first game at home, and Swinton were always going to find it challenging off the back of a tough Easter period as it is, to then have to travel, deal with the logistics. You've got part-time players, having to go over there and back up after the Easter. It was always going to be a tough ask for them, and we didn't see anything but a Toronto win, did we, on the weekend, and that's what we saw in the end. So well done to the Wolfpack. Great stuff there on their first home win, and well done to the Swinton Lions. It was a challenging effort.
Lastly, we've got the Bradford Bulls 52 22, another big scoreline of Rochdale Hornets 16. It's worth noting, though, Rochdale were leading heading into the Sheds at half-time. That certainly is a confidence boost for them in the first 40 minutes to be able to put on some sort of clinical work like that.
Absolutely. Well, really encouraging signs for them. You know, I don't think they've had as good a start to a game in a long time. So, you know, to go to Bradford, which is a tough place to go, and to say where Rochdale are at the moment, they're not playing well. We know that. They are struggling. And to go into that game and show the energy and the desire and the attitude to compete hard, really, really encouraging. And like I said, 16-12 up, I think it's just disappointing there for Rochdale and the coaching team that they just didn't manage to sort of kick on in that second half. You know, 40 unanswered points. You know, it was 40 points to nil that second half. Obviously, John Key, I don't know what he said to him at half time, but he obviously put a rocket up him, and they responded because second half, they were excellent, Bradford, weren't they? You know, they were clinical, some great inventive, creative football played. So well done to the Bradford Bulls.
Certainly was a very exciting round, no doubt. It will be very exciting when we head into round 13, which we will preview now. And first up is Dewsbury Rams hosting Toulouse Olympique, and I'm going to take a Toulouse win here, just given the form that they've been in recently and where they are at this point of the season. But Dewsbury Ram, I think they'll certainly be up for a fight. Yeah,
it's a tough one, really. I think I'm with you. I think Toulouse will have too much quality on the day to get the job done. But the thing is with Dewsbury, it's a tight pitch. They're not going to be able to play as expansive as they'd like, or as off the cuff. There's not as much space to play to there. So they'll have to keep their game plan really tight. Maybe play more close support around the ruck will Toulouse. But I'm with you. I do think Toulouse will get the job done.
Up next, Toronto Wolfpack hosting the Bradford Bulls again over there at Lamport Stadium. The second week in Toronto. I'm going to take a Toronto tip here just because I think being at home, I think that's been a really exciting moment for so many of the new players, including the likes of John Wilk and Ricky Lutelli, rising up and being over there in Canada and meeting all of their home fans. I think they'll really get a roll on here and do back-to-back wins.
I think
couple of back-to-backs.
Yeah, I think back-to-back home wins. I think Toronto are going to get it, and I think for those reasons too. I think the fact now they're back home.
Bradford's got to travel as well.
Correct. They're settled. They'll be settled now. They've had another week to settle into the surroundings. Bradford though, they are just going under the radar for me at the moment. They're sitting in the top four now, That's true. And they've just been notching off these victories in the last few weeks. I think it might be 6, maybe 7 on the bounce now, and now they've put themselves into the top 4 and they're pushing. So they're on the up, Bradford.
Up next, Halifax will be hosting Barrow at home, and I'm going to take a Halifax tip on this one. I think the distractions of losing their coach and perhaps that win last weekend will give them some confidence heading in, and perhaps that there's some sort of belief that at this stage of the season there is still hope to be there right there at the end. Yeah,
I think I'm with you. I think it'll be a Halifax win at home. I think you're right. I think the fact now that, they're all on watch now, aren't they? Who's going to be the new coach?
Yep.
So there'll be a lot of that, and they'll know the players will have to perform to impress the new coach.
Yep.
And I think you're right. I think that's going to be a real morale-boosting victory, the win they had against Sheffield. They're away at Sheffield, coming back home now against an out-of-form Barrow side. I just can't see them being able to do enough Barrow to go there and get the result. I think it will be a Halifax win.
Up next, Leigh Centurions will be hosting the Sheffield Eagles, and I'm going to go away with the away team here. I'm going to tip the Sheffield Eagles. They're coming off a loss against Halifax last week. Leigh Centurions coming for a win. Perhaps, I know they've got the injection of a few new players and they've been finding some form, but I think Sheffield can really upset it here.
I'd hope so. I'd hope so, but I'm thinking it's going to be a Leigh win. Okay. I'm going to tip Leigh at home this week. I think coming off the back of a good, gritty performance away at Batley, I think the introduction of Ryan Briley's just given them a spark, a bit of a lift. Again, it could be dependent on what players they get made available to them from St Helens for this weekend. May prove the difference. But I'm thinking Sheffield might have a couple of weeks just off the horse here, and then they'll come back against Sheffield, no doubt about it. But I think they're going to have a little blip here now for a couple of weeks, and then they'll come back and resurge. I think it's going to be a Leigh victory.
Up next, Rochdale Hornets will host the Featherston Rovers, and for me, this tip goes to the away team, Featherston Rovers. Talk about Dane Chisholm and his injection, Cameron King, those guys working together right there on the spine, and I think this is certainly one that Featherston will look to have in the bag.
I'd have to agree with you. I just think confidence is shot with Rochdale at the moment. I think we saw some encouraging signs in that first half performance on the weekend from them against Bradford, but fell back into their old habits and their old ways in that second half. Yeah, I think they're at rock bottom at the moment, Rochdale. I think they're in a difficult place, and I can't see anything short of a Featherston victory here.
Swinton Lions are hosting Widnes Vikings. Widnes obviously coming off that 1-point loss last week. I think they might have a bit of fire in their belly to want to get one back on this one. So I think Widnes may just come away with the spoils here.
Well, Yeah, you
Swinton
think,
too are coming off a loss, but they're also doing the travel, so it's a hard one to tip for me.
Well, for me, you look over the course of the championship season, Swinton have been pretty competitive at home. They've pushed some teams. They've been unfortunate. That a couple of results have just gone. A couple of 2-point losses have gone against them. They've really been in a lot of games at home, and I think they'll smell blood here. I think they'll smell a bit of like Widnes are just rocking a little bit. They've come off back-to-back losses. Something maybe not quite be going right there. I think they'll see there's a real opportunity here to get the result. Not only are Swinton desperate, remember they're fighting relegation here, but Widnes have got to show that same desperation too. I know they've won 7 games already, and we know the points deduction from administration, but they can't rest on their laurels and just think it's going to happen for them. They're going to have to show some spirit, some endeavour, and some desperation here because they are in that relegation battle at this moment in time. But I think it's going to be a real good game, but I'm with you.
That's your game of the round. Lastly, but not least, is York City Knights hosting the Batley Bulldogs, and I'm going to tip a York City Knights victory here. I think they really have impressed me so far, what they've been able to do this season, how they've responded to losses and also wins, and that effort to go down to Toulouse and perhaps not coming away with the win, but they still certainly put on a really impressive match, like you said, without those key players.
Well, I'm not sure if their key players will be back this week or not. Be a huge boost if they do come back. But I'm with you. I think at home York will have too much for Batley. I think as well what we've learned from this season in the championship that York seem to have always had the ability when they've had a loss, they seem to bounce back. So they seem to give their team and their coach and their fans a response, don't they? So I think we'll see that. I think, like you said, they pushed Toulouse. A lot of positives from that performance away in Toulouse. There's no shame there losing by 4 points to a very good Toulouse side, and now to come back. And if they do get a few bodies back, that will give them a bit of energy lift as well. But I do think that they'll be too strong for the Batley Bulldogs.
Well, all will be told this weekend. Some great matchups. Don't forget to tune into the Our League app. Hendo, thanks so much for your time, as always, and great insight into the game. And we'll be back next week to look over all of those games from round 13 and, of course, preview round 14.